This
Yes,
call
please.
is now being recorded. This call is now taking notes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, please, sir.
All right. So this course is Introduction to Educational Research. It focuses on the nature of research. So we will look at what is research, and then essential characteristics. We will look at the sources of knowledge, the different ways through which individuals acquire knowledge. We will look at the roles of research in education. When we talk of research in education, what are their roles? How does it contribute to knowledge, practice, and policy? Then we will also look at the classifications of educational research, look at the variables in educational research, and then we will look at the research plan, which is the proposal. So for Unit 1, at the end of the unit, each and every student is supposed to be able to explain the meaning and nature of educational research, to identify and discuss the different sources of knowledge, to explain the role and importance of research in education, classify the different forms of educational research, to identify variables used in educational research, and also to explain the components of a research plan. So let's look at the first session of the model. The first session of the model for Unit 1 talks about the nature of research. The nature of research. So by the end of going through this session, you should be able to know what research is. To explain the meaning of research, you should also be able to distinguish between the layman's view of research and the scholarly view of research. You should also be able to define educational research and discuss the major characteristics of research. Are we good to go?
Yes, please, sir.
All right. So we want to look at research. We will take research in two forms or in two ways. Now, research is very important in the life of an individual, a student, a worker, everybody. You need to do research. Why? Why do you think there is a need for us to do research? Can anybody unmute and just tell us?
Okay, this will give you knowledge about something that you'd like to know.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, to get a valid information or an important information that you need.
Valid information. That's right. So, we need information day in, day out. We need information. Information, we say, is key. If you lack information, you may get lost. But if you have information, you are always on point. Let's assume you are going to Accra and you don't have an information that um you have an information that there are robbers on the way. That information that you have will help you not to be able to fall prey to those robbers. Is that not it? But if you don't have that information, you just take the car and then you fall prey to the robbers. So information is very key. So it is very necessary for us as educationists to also to have some information on our fingerprint, and that is why research is very necessary. Now let's look at the layman's view of research. To many people, research simply means searching for information or facts from books, the internet, newspapers, or other sources. So this with this, the emphasis is placed on obtaining information rather than systematically investigating a problem. So with a layman's view, when somebody goes to search for an information, whether on the internet, whether in a book or something, we term that as research. rather than systematically investigating what a problem. So we look at it in two ways. Going to the internet to search information. Maybe you want to search what is research, and you go and then search. That is just mere searching of information. That is to the layman. Now let's look at the scholarly view of research. So scholars consider research as a systematic and organized process of investigating a problem in order to obtain reliable knowledge and understanding. So can we look at the difference here? The layman's view of research and the scholarly view of research. The difference is that the scholarly view is what entails a systematic and organized process. A systematic and organized process of investigating a problem. So this one is not just mere going to search for information in a book or mere going to search for information on the internet, but rather you go through a systematic process and the process is organized. Are we okay?
Yes, please, sir.
All right, so with the scholarly view, it involves identifying a problem, collecting relevant data, analyzing the data, and interpreting the findings. So you see the difference. With the layman's view, you just go and find out, okay, what is research? Research is this. You get the information, that is all. But with the scholarly view of research, we are saying that you go through several processes, and the processes are systematic. It follows a certain order where you have to identify a problem, you collect relevant data about the problem, you analyze the data, and then interpret the findings. So as you go along with the course, you have to keep it in point that these are the steps, the things that you are going to do, because we are in the education field, not just we are not laymen. We are not laymen, we are in the education field. And so these are the process we go through. We are going to identify a problem, we are going to collect relevant data, we are going to analyze the data, and then you interpret the findings of the data. So example of a layman's view of research is just searching internet for scores, searching internet for scores. So that is not research. That is a layman view of what research. Then investigating causes of poor performance. That is actual what research. You are investigating into a problem. You are going through systematic procedures. Are we okay? Now let's move on from the layman's view of research and the scholarly view of research to educational research. So the first one, we looked at the layman's view of research and then the scholarly view of research. And the clear difference is one follows what? A systematic process. Now let's look at educational research. Educational research is the application of the scientific method to the study of educational problems and issues. It involves systematic investigation to improve teaching and learning, student development, education administration, and educational policies and programs. So we have identified that research follows what, or it involves systematic investigation into a specific problem. So if we are adding education, then what does it mean? It means the problem to be investigated is an educational one. Is that not it? So,
Yes, it is.
so it means that we are looking at problems in education, and then we are going to solve them through a systematic what process. We are going to identify a problem, we are going to analyze the data, we are going to collect data about the problem, we are going to analyze and come up with vivid conclusions or suggestions or recommendations that will help solve that particular problem. So various aspects include teaching and learning. Once we are in education, if you are undertaking a research to solve a problem, the problem will be to solve what? Teaching and learning. Is that not it? Also, to look at student development educational administration, educational policies, and programs. Now, why do you think educational research is necessary? Let me allow you to come in. Why do you think educational research will be necessary?
Hello.
Yes.
It provides solutions to challenges in education.
It will provide a solution to challenges in education. That is right. Because if you identify a problem and then you solve, then it means that you are getting what solutions. Yes, any other?
Sir, please, I raised my hand, but then earlier on you didn't call.
All right, so you can talk.
It is important in the sense that it helps us broaden our horizon on a context.
All right. All right. That's also a good submission. Any other more? Okay. So let's look at why educational research is necessary. So,
Yeah, please.
all right.
It encourages the use of evidence-based teaching practices.
Come again.
It helps us to improve teaching methods.
All right. All right. All right. Improve teaching methods. That's great. That's Regina, right?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. So, educational research helps educators. I believe you are all educators, or are we all
Yes.
educators on the platform?
Yes, sir.
We are all educators, teachers to be precise.
No, sir, not
Yes,
all
please.
of us.
Not all of us. Okay, no problem. So, it helps educators. So, but now we are doing educational research. So let us all cast our mind. So those who are not in education, which aspects are you? Or you are in education but you are not in the teaching field?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all education. All right. Do you have anybody who is not in education? We don't have. All right. So we are all in education. So that will be good because everything we are going to do is going to be based on education. So you see, when you are writing your research, it means you have to choose a topic in education because you are doing education. So whatever you do must help solve a problem in education. So you cannot be doing education and you go and choose a topic about health workers. All right. So why educational research is necessary? Educational research will help educators to understand problems in the educational setting, to develop evidence-based solutions to improve teaching methods and learning outcomes, and then to provide information for educational decisions. So when you undertake an educational research, one way or the other, it will help you in some of these ways. Now, I've already told you that this course is a practical course. It is not a theory course. So please, let's try and understand everything that we are doing. Is that okay?
Okay, sir.
All right. So if you don't understand anything, you can just prompt my attention, then we'll all discuss. So as you go along with the course, you will have to think about a challenge, a problem. That is what I want you to do. Cast your mind on a problem within your field so that as and when we go along, you may be linking whatever we are doing here to that problem. I think that will help you to put it into practice, whatever we are doing here into practice. So you link it to the field that you are. So if you're a teacher, if you're in the classroom, you have to link whatever we are doing. If you are at the education office, you link it. If wherever your field is, wherever you are, you link it to it so that you can apply whatever we are doing. So think about a classroom challenge. That's for the teachers, those who are in the classroom. Then how can research help solve that challenge? That is what you should be thinking about as you go along. So I'll ask you what you have thought of. All right. Let's look at characteristics of research. Characteristics of research. So research, as we have learned, have some important characteristics. It possesses some characteristics. So let's quickly go through some of the characteristics. It begins with a problem. It begins with a problem. Every research begins with a problem. If you don't have a problem, you cannot undertake a research, because of course you are undertaking the research to solve a problem. So if you don't have a problem, how do you undertake the research? So that is the first characteristics of a research. A research begins with a problem. It starts with a question. It starts with a question. So if you are in the classroom, you ask yourself some questions that you think are problems. Why is it that if I teach, my students will be sleeping? That is a question. Why is it that anytime I teach, my students will be sleeping? So it's a question. It is a problem. It's an issue. As a teacher, you can't teach and then your students will be sleeping. You can't teach and then your students will be, they will not be concentrating, or they will not be contributing to their class. So it's a problem. It's an issue. Then you look at, what do I do to overcome this issue? So the next characteristic is that it requires a clear plan. It requires a clear plan. So you have to go through several procedures. You have to go through several procedures, like we discussed, that it's an investigation. It's an investigation that follows what? An organized procedures, or a step of procedures. So you have to go through certain what? Procedures. Then it requires a clear problem what? Statement. A clear problem statement. So if you're undertaking a research, you have to state your problem. You have to define the focus of your problem precisely. And that is an important aspect of a research, the problem, stating the problem. You have to convince whoever takes the research that indeed whatever you are investigating into is a problem. So it requires a clear problem what? Statement. Then it involves sub problems. You see, the problem is a big problem. It's a bigger picture of whatever you are looking at. Now, you have to apply some procedures, or you have to break down the problem into sub problems, so that you may be able to what? To tackle it. Other than that, if you pick the entire problem, you wouldn't know where to start from and where to even end. So let's assume that you want to look at why your students are not performing. Why your students are not performing. You see, it's a problem. It's a problem. But you have to look at other sub problems. You can look at the teaching methods you are using. You can look at the student motivation in joining the class. You can look at, so you have a whole lot of things you can look at, so that you can arrive at your general problem that you want to look at. Is that not it? So it involves what? Sub problems. You have to break down the main problem into sub problems, so that you can achieve what you want to achieve. And in doing that, you have your research questions or hypothesis. Then research also deals with facts and meanings. Research also deals with facts and meanings. Now with this, we are saying that you have to what? Collect and interpret data. You have to collect and interpret data. So when you're undertaking a research, you can't just sit in your room and then I want to find out why my students are not performing. Then you sit in your room and then you just go online. Why is it that students do not perform? Then somebody will give you because they are this, because they are that, then you are done. No, you have to collect data. Look at primary data, look at secondary data, combine them, and then you get the actual results that you want. Because it may be that that information that you may find will not be peculiar to your student. So you have to go to the field. Why are my students not performing? Get to your students. You can talk to them. Why is it that you don't do well? You can have an interview with them. You can give them questions for them to answer. Whichever way approach you take to achieve your results, you have to go through those processes. So it deals with facts. You have to get your facts right and make sure that whatever you are using is the correct information. Then research is also a cyclical and continuous. It is cyclical and what? Continuous. Research does not end. Research does not end. So it is circular. It goes through it has a cyclical nature. So with the cyclical nature, you have your problem that you want to investigate. Then you look at your sub problems. You break the problem into sub problems. That is research questions or research hypothesis. Then after you have gotten your research questions, you have to collect data. You go through data collection. Then after you've collected your data, you analyze the data and interpret the data. Now, when you analyze the data and interpret the data that you have interpreted, you have to draw conclusions. When you draw conclusions, the conclusions also lead you to a new problem. That is what we call the suggestions for further research. So every research also leads to a new problem. Because of course, if you look at why your students are not performing well, okay, and you come to realize that, okay, it is because my students are not performing well because they don't eat. They don't get food to eat at home when they come to class. You have achieved your result. Is that not it? Hello?
Yes, please.
Yes. So if you get that result that, okay, my students do not perform well because they don't eat before coming to class, you have achieved your result. But you see, that result that you have achieved, it leads you to a new problem. It leads you to a new problem. They don't eat when they come to class. Now, what is making them not to eat before they come to class? That's another problem, which is worth what? Investigating. So every research leads to another what? Research. Are we okay? So the research process does not end. It's cyclical. It moves from one stage to another. Once you finish, you come up with a new research that needs to also to what? To be investigated. So you cannot go and take somebody's research that the person has done and you also do the same thing. No, that is committing what? An error, because that work has already been investigated. However, you can look at the suggestions that was raised in the person's research, and then you look at what? Also investigating in that problem that has been revealed. All right. Most of the times, what students do is that when you give them research work, they will just go and look at somebody's work. They will take it and then put their name on it. That is not research. Research is you identifying your own problem and then coming up with solutions to solve that problem. So, in saying, it means that you have to know the various ways that you can what? Obtain knowledge, or you can obtain how to get a research problem. So that will be our next session that we will look at. We have an activity here in groups of 2 or 3. Identify a common. So I would like you to do this. You identify. So like I said, as you go ahead, identify a common school problem or classroom problem, then explain why it requires a research, and then you suggest possible research questions. I presume for now we are now getting to know the concept, so I'll leave this one here for now, then you can go through. But like I said, you need to be focusing your mind on problems as we go ahead. Some problems that you think it's a challenge for you, which is worth investigating. All right. So for the first session, we have looked at research, which we learned that it's more than what searching for information, and it involves a systematic process. We have looked at educational research, which applies scientific methods to solve educational issues. We have looked at research, which follows an organized procedure, and then its characteristics. All right, so this brings us to the end of the first session. Any question from here?
No, sir. Hello.
Hello.
So mine is not a question, but when you were teaching, I was offline, so I didn't get what you said.
You didn't get all that I said concerning the
Not
teaching.
all that. Where you ended, I was offline. I was having problem with the network.
Where I ended or where I started?
No. Where you ended, the cyclical wherever.
Okay, so with the cyclical, I was saying that research does not really end. It's a cyclical in nature. It goes round and comes to start again. So it is circular, such that you start with a problem, you formulate hypotheses or specific research questions that are related to the problem. You go through several procedures in collecting data, relevant data. You analyze the data, and then you interpret the result. Once you get the result also leads you to what? Another problem. And I made an example that, let's assume that you want to find out why your students always sleep in your class. Now you go through several methods, several process to obtain your results that your students sleep because they don't eat when they come to class. You have achieved your result. Is that not it? So once you achieve that result, it doesn't end there. It also leads you to what? Another problem. Why is it that your student does not eat when they come to class? That's also another problem. Is it that their parents don't have money, or they don't eat breakfast, or so? That is also another research problem that is to be investigated. So research does not end. It goes round, come again, lead you to another problem, goes round, come again, like that. So it's a cyclical what? Nature. Are you okay?
Yes, please.
All right. So if there is no other question, let's quickly move to session 2. Please, are we understanding the concept?
Yes, please.
All right. We need to understand the basics so that when we begin the practicing it, we will not find it difficult. So we are looking at session 2 of our model, which looks at sources of knowledge. Sources of knowledge. Now, there are several ways by which we obtain knowledge. There are several ways by which we can what? Obtain knowledge. You see, when you want to undertake a research, you have to research is about getting knowledge. Is that not it? It's about getting knowledge. So you need to have knowledge about whatever thing, whatever problem, whatever challenge, or what you are doing in your field of interest, whether in your classroom, in your office, in your workplace. So we are going to look at some of the sources of knowing, the ways of knowing. Now, this session, or after this session, you have to be able to identify the different sources of knowledge. You should be able to explain the strengths and weaknesses of each source. Then you should be able to describe the scientific methods as a way of knowing, and then also explain the characteristics of scientific inquiry. Then to outline the steps involved in scientific inquiry, and then also to apply this scientific inquiry to educational situations. So let me first ask this question before I go to that. What are some of the sources of knowledge? Some of the sources of knowing?
They are in books.
You can have some from books.
Asking questions.
Asking questions. Okay.
Research.
Undertaking research.
Experience.
From experience. All right. Okay. So thank you very much for the contributions. So we want to look at some sources of knowledge. We have personal experience, we have tradition, we have authority, we have logical reasoning, we have the scientific method, and then we have so all these sources differ in what? Reliability and structure. So we are going to go through them one after the other to know what each of these sources of knowledge are, and their limitations, and then their advantages as well. So knowing from personal experience, I believe you all, if you say that you have gotten knowledge from personal experience, what are we talking about? Let me allow you to come in.
Personal experience. So I would say that what you've been through, you have learned your lesson. So you have
Okay.
experience in it.
Okay, you have had experience in, so what you have done, what you have gone through. Can you give a practical example, Teresa?
Yeah. So like being in the labor, giving birth.
Giving birth. Wow. Have you given birth before? Teresa,
Sir,
have you given birth before?
yes.
So how was the experience?
How the journey was. So it's what I've been through. So I had an experience in that.
That's the 9-month journey or the delivery part?
Both the 9 months
Both.
and the delivery.
Okay, so you have experience in that. All right. That's yeah. So any other contribution? If you say that you have gotten knowledge through personal experience, what are we talking about?
The places it's one feels and sees something by him or herself.
Okay. Thank you, Andy. So what you have been through, you have experienced it yourself, you have gone through. So as we go through life, we go through several experiences. So the process of getting what? Knowledge or a skill by an individual through what? Doing, seeing, and feeling things, as well as something that happens which has an effect on the individual. So knowledge which is gained through what? Direct observation and involvement. This one, you feel it yourself, you see it, you feel it, you do it, then you get that what? Experience. So like Teresa said, she has gone through what? Giving birth, and so she knows what the experience is. If she's explaining to someone, she'll be able to explain that my 9-month journey was not an easy one, because she has been through that experience. So this is a natural and what common way of knowing. This one, it is, you see, it flows naturally. It flows naturally. So because it is your normal thing you are doing, going through life, meeting people, seeing things, feeling things. So life becomes a teacher. Life becomes what? A teacher to you. Are we okay? So that is knowing through what? Personal experience. So after going through the research course, you realize that now you have experience in research. So when somebody who is now coming to take the course, that's where you tell the person your experiences that, oh, research is very interesting, it's very nice. In fact, it's good, it's enjoying. So because of the experience that you have had through going through what the research course and also undertaking your research project work, you tell the person your experiences, you have gone through it, so you know how it went. All right. So let's look at some limitations of this. So this one, it is prone to, one of the disadvantages that what? It is prone to errors. It is prone to errors, bias, and lacks what? Systematic investigation. So one of the weakness of knowing through personal experience is that it is prone to errors. Please, can anybody explain this? Why do we say that it is prone to errors or it is bias?
Okay, sir, because it is individual based, the one who has experience may either exaggerate.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So like Teresa said, she has gone through
Something.
okay, yes. Dora.
Yeah, okay. Yes, just as Madam Teresa said, a woman in labor in Africa and then a woman in labor in Europe, one of the European countries, when both are sharing their experiences, like if we are to use both for the same kind of research, there will be some sort of bias because a white lady, what she will go through might be different from what we Africans will go through.
I see.
Um,
There no white has come inside though. Okay. Thank you, Dora. But even
Sir,
okay,
like what
Regina.
Dora just said,
Okay.
in some hospitals, if you are
Mm-hmm.
in labor, they will give you a certain injection, you won't feel the pain.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what my sister is trying to say, that if you're in an European country, there's some injection, if you like, they will just inject you, you will not feel the pain like we used to feel that pain in Africa.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what my sister is trying to say.
All right. So that is it. So you see, it is prone to, so because it is based on personal experience. Maybe you, when you went to deliver, you just slept, and by the time you woke up, you have given birth. So you come and tell
Hey,
me that, oh,
hey.
so you come and tell me that, oh, delivering is, oh, it's so sweet. You just sleep, you wake up, and then you have given birth. That is your experience. It is bias. Now I base on that oh, delivery is good. Is, I mean, you don't go through any pain. Then I also go and get pregnant. Then in my 9 month journey, I will suffer, and when I'm going to deliver to, I will suffer. I will cry and cry and cry and cry. Now when I'm able to deliver and I come back, I will tell you that you lied to me. Is that not it? Because what you said is not actually what I also experienced. So it is always prone to biases, and they are prone to errors because what you experience may be different from what our experience. Just like this course we are taking, some people will enjoy the course. Some too will say that, oh, it's difficult. So you, that the course has become very easy for you, you go and tell someone your experience. Oh, this research course that we did today, oh, it's very nice. The course is very interesting. So then somebody will come and take the course. The person say, ah, this course is very boring. It's very difficult. I had an E, but you had A. So because it is based on personal experiences, it is prone to what? Bias. and then it lacks systematic investigation. You don't actually go through certain procedures to arrive at what the true result. All right. The next source of knowledge is tradition. Tradition. So tradition as a source of knowledge. This has to do with beliefs and practices that are passed on from what generation to generation. So they are often accepted because they have always been practiced. So you can also get to know, you can get knowledge through what? Tradition. The tradition that you have practiced, maybe example is what? Your ethnic group or your tribe that you are. You have a particular tradition that you practice. Can we have some of the tribes and then the tradition that, and a clear example of tradition that they have?
So you have the Krobos and the Poo.
The Krobo. Mr. Andy, are you a Krobo?
No, please, sir.
Okay, and Dipo. Okay, so the Krobos, they go through Dipo. Is it before marriage? I wanted if I would like it if you tell us your own tradition and some of the things that you know about your tradition.
So, for example, we have the account. Okay, in terms of
Belinda.
yes, sir. When
Okay,
a lady
we are
gets
listening.
menstruation, she's given an egg to swallow.
Which part?
Part of an account like wasa.
Wasa people.
Uh-huh.
So Wasa people.
When a lady gets its first menses or when a
Okay.
girl gets first menstruation, she's given an egg, a cooked egg for her to swallow.
Okay.
Mm.
So with that, so you swallow, you not eat it.
Yes, you will not eat it, you swallow.
Is there any reason behind that you have to
Okay,
swallow and not?
learned, or from what they told me, they said the swallow egg represents your egg in your womb. So when you chew it, you chew the egg in your womb. But when you are able to swallow it, you save the eggs in your womb. That is what I was told.
Oh, okay.
It is something like your fertility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello,
So that,
hello.
yes, Teresa.
So mine is a contribution to tradition. Hello.
Teresa, is it your end that there is noise?
Yes, please.
So kindly control the case for us.
Okay. So is it
So
okay?
you can go ahead.
So mine is I know of a tradition that when it's a lobby tradition,
Lobby.
when lobby
Lobby, okay.
lobby it's in Burkina Faso. When you are a
Be
lady and want to get married, they have to circumcise you before you get
okay.
married, so that you be
Okay.
faithful to your husband.
Okay. So all these are some of the traditions, and you see, if you are part of this tribe, or if you know, if that is where you grew up, you have that knowledge. You have that knowledge at the back of your mind that every lady or every woman, once you want to get married, you have to be circumcised. So that is what you know. Now, when you come to the southern part, and people are saying that there is no need for you to be circumcised, you try to challenge them, because growing up, that is what you know. That is your knowledge. You have gotten to know that through what? Tradition. Now, some people have certain traditions that when it's on Tuesdays, we don't go to a certain river. When it's this, we don't do this. We don't go to a farm. We don't do this. These are all knowledge that we acquire from what? Tradition. So another source of knowledge is through tradition, because traditions are part of us, and it is part of our upbringing. Growing up from your childhood days until you grow up, you get to know certain things through what? Tradition. All right. And then these things are passed on. You see, they are passed on from what, generation to generation. When your mother gives birth to you, he tells you that this river, you don't go there on Tuesdays, and it becomes a knowledge that she has given to you. So it's on your mind that Tuesdays you don't go to this river, and that the same way you also pass it to your children, that on Tuesdays you don't go to this river, and it is accepted because they have always been the practice. So it is generally accepted. This is also prone to several limitations. One, it discourages questioning and acceptance of new ideas. You see, it discourages questioning. You don't question about it. When your father tells you that this river, we don't go there on Tuesdays, can you go and question your father? Daddy, why is that this river we don't go here on Tuesdays? Why is it that this? Why is it that we don't go to farm on this? You see, because it has become the general practice, you don't really question about that. And then it also discourages the acceptance of new ideas. Now, when somebody tells you that on Tuesdays we go and bath, you see, it will be very difficult for you to accept, because you know that from your practice you don't do that. So it becomes very difficult to accept new ideas. These are some of the limitations of tradition as a source of knowledge. It eliminates the need to search for knowledge and understanding, because you accept what has always been done. You accept it like that, without questioning, without raising any form of doubt, because that has always been the practice. So it eliminates the need for you to search. You don't even think about, let me go and search. Okay, let me go to this river on Tuesday to see what is actually there. You don't even think of it, because you know that has been the practice ever since you were born. Now, another source of knowledge we will talk about is authority. Authority as a source of knowledge. This is where experts or people of recognized positions in society or institutions that come as a result of their expertise and positions. So knowledge, this form of knowledge is obtained from people who are experts and recognized leaders. Examples are teachers, doctors, professors, and chiefs, etc. So we obtain this knowledge through authority. If your doctor tells you that when you have malaria, you have to take Lufat, or what do you call it? What are some of the malaria drugs? So you know that experts have identified that when you have malaria, you can take Lufat. So it becomes a knowledge that you know. So as soon as you realize that you have symptoms of malaria, you just go and buy your Lufat, you take it, and then you are you are healed. That kind of knowledge is from experts, people who have come up with the information or the truth about the fact that when you take Lufat, it will be able to it can be able to solve or heal your malaria. So knowledge obtained from experts and recognized leaders are knowledge gained through authority. So authority can also be a source of gaining knowledge. So your teacher, your doctor, your professors, your chiefs, etc. Now the limitation to this is that authorities can be wrong. That is one of the limitations. Authorities can be wrong. Because the person is an expert, you see, you trust the person so much that whatever the person says, when your doctor, what your doctor says, is you trust it so much. So when your doctor makes a mistake or gets it wrong, it means that you are going to die. Let's assume that a nurse gives you a wrong prescription, then it means you are doomed. So authorities may be wrong. That is one limitation. And then information may go unquestioned because of the fact that they have authority and we begin to trust them. You don't question them. When you go to a hospital and then the doctor gives you prescriptions and they give you the medicine, do you ask the nurse that, or the pharmacist where you take the medicine, do you ask them that, please, what will this medicine do for me? Will it kill me? Will it solve? Will it heal my? Do you ask?
You don't
You
say.
don't ask. Yes, because you trust that they are what? Because of their authority, you know that they are experts in that. Is that not it? So you don't question. So one of the limitations is that we don't really question. We don't really the information may go unquestioned. We don't ask questions about that. And then another limitation also is that these authorities may be wrong. They may even make mistakes. All right. Then we have logic as a source of knowledge. Logic as a source of knowledge. It's also another way of knowing or getting to know things. And this one, you get to know things logically. So we tend to reason things out. So with this one, you get to know something based on your own reasoning. You reason things out. So we call it critical thinking. And then using your critical thinking to make what? Good judgment. It can also be said as what? A formal way or a formal method of thinking about ideas. So reasoning based on what? Sound judgment. Reasoning based on what? Sound judgment. Mostly we have this which is known as syllogism, which follows a certain way of reasoning. For example, you may say that for example, so I don't know if you have done critical thinking as a course. Have you done it?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
You have done critical thinking.
Yes, please, sir.
Oh, okay. So it means you are aware of this, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you are aware of logical reasoning. So that is also another way of what? Getting to know. So for example, we can say that if P then Q, if Q then R. So therefore, if P then R. So the conclusion that if P then R is gotten from the premise that if P then Q. So if P, then we have Q. If Q, then we have R. So it means that you can pick P will be equal to what? R. So this is getting to know something based on your own what? Logical reasoning. Based on your own logical reasoning, you think critically. If Kofi is a boy, or if Kofi is mortal, if let's say if all men are mortal and Kofi is a man, then it means that Kofi is a mortal. So this one nobody tells you, but you get to know based on your own critical thinking that okay, if all men are mortal and then Kofi is a man, then basically Kofi is mortal. Is that not it? So this is getting to know something based on what? Logical reasoning. With this form, it may be from two what ways, whether deductive reasoning and then inductive reasoning. With deductive reasoning, then it means you are moving from general to specific. Then if it is inductive, then you are moving from specific to what? To general. For example, Kofi is a mortal. So Kofi is a mortal. That is the conclusion. So if all men are mortal and Kofi is a mortal, if all men are mortal and Kofi is a man, then Kofi is mortal. It means we are moving from what? From general to specific. Then you can move from specific to general. Kofi is a mortal. Kofi is a man, and all men are what? Are mortal. So whichever way, whether you move from general to specific or specific to general, you are using what? Logical reasoning. And one is deductive and one is inductive. If you are doing deductive, it means you are moving from what? General to specific. Then if you are doing inductive, you are moving from what? Specific to general. So, okay, so this example of the deductive reasoning. So Kofi is a human being. Therefore, Kofi is mortal. So the major premise is what? So the major premise is all human beings are mortal. Then we have the minor premise. Kofi is a human being. Then the conclusion is what? Therefore, Kofi is mortal. So we are deducing from the general premise. All human beings are mortal. Kofi is a human being. So therefore, Kofi is what? A mortal. So let's look at some of the limitations of logical reasoning. A conclusion is valid only when the premise is true. Because the conclusion is gotten from the premise. If the premise is false, then it means, of course, the conclusion is false. Is that not it? So every conclusion in logical reasoning, if it is true, it means that the premise is true. If the conclusion is false, then it means that the premise is what? Is false. So if all human beings are not mortals, then and you say Kofi is a mortal and Kofi is a human being, it means the Kofi being a human being or a mortal is wrong, because you say that all human beings are mortals and you say that Kofi is a human being because Kofi is a mortal. If the premise is wrong, that all human beings are mortal, then it means the conclusion that Kofi is a mortal is also wrong. So that is what we are saying. Then, so false premises may lead to what? Incorrect conclusions. All right, let's look at the scientific method of knowing. The last method of knowing knowledge, which is the scientific method. The scientific method has to do with systematic way of acquiring knowledge. A systematic way of acquiring knowledge. So unlike the other methods that we have mentioned, with scientific method, it deals with systematic ways. It goes through several processes, goes through several methods, several procedures before you can what? Acquire knowledge. Ideas or results are what? Tested through evidence-based, and then they are also verified. Then knowledge is not assumed. Knowledge is tested. And it's not assumed. These are the premises of scientific knowledge or scientific methods of knowing. It is a systematic way. And then its ideas or its results are always tested and they are proven. They are tested and proven. And then we don't just assume knowledge. The knowledge is what? Tested and proven, like I said. And it is fact. It is evidence-based. It is backed with what? Evidence. That is the scientific method of what? Of knowing. Now, as researchers, so right now we are all researchers. So you have to put this in your mind that you are a researcher. From today, you are a true researcher. Now, our interest as researchers is in science as a method of knowing. It's in science as a method of what? Knowing. Researchers always follows the scientific method of knowing. Cast your mind back to the first session, the discussion on the first session, where we looked at the layman's view on research and then the scholarly view of research. We said that the scholarly view of research is where you have gone through what? Several procedures. And we are saying that the scientific method of knowing is also through what? Systematic way of acquiring knowledge. So they are in line. So it means as a researcher, you have to go through what? The scientific method of what? Of knowing, as it involves testing, verifying educated guesses in what? In public institutions. All right. Up to this point, any question? Are we there?
But this way, did not talk about the limitation.
The limitation of scientific method.
Because all of them you gave us the limitation, but this one, no limitation.
Yes, because with this one, because the you see the limitations of the others will be catered by the scientific method. That is why we said that as a researcher, you have to apply the scientific method of knowing, because with the scientific method, it is backed by what? Facts. Unlike, let's compare the scientific method to the tradition method. The tradition method will tell you that you just have to accept the thing as it is. But the scientific method helps you to prove. It helps you to prove what has been said, or what is already there. Please do get it. So it proves the other ways of knowing. I don't know if I've answered your question. Hello.
Hi.
I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so the scientific method is known as it's like it is the best alternative to cater for the limitations of the others, because you cannot just tell me that you have knowledge, and that knowledge is gotten from, you see, all the methods that we have mentioned, they are questionable, but the scientific method is not questionable. If I tell you that I've gotten this information, if I told you that I've gotten this information and I use the scientific method in getting it, you can't really question it, because it is proven with facts. It has gone through several procedures. All right. So let's look at characteristics of the scientific method. So like I said, as researchers, we are going to use the scientific method to go through our research, because it goes through several procedures. So as a researcher, if you come up with an information, if you come up with data, if you come up with any information, that information should be valid. People should be able to rely on that information. Unlike you coming to tell us from tradition that we don't go to the riverside on Tuesdays. Nobody will accept me if I'm if I'm a Fanti. I don't know the various tribes, but let's say if I'm let's use the first example, the one that they circumcise them. If let's say I'm from a different tribe and you come and tell me that before you marry, you have to go for them to circumcise you, it will be difficult for me to accept that fact. Do you get it? Because it is not proven. It is based on tradition. Or if you tell me that before you can marry, you have to bath, or you have to perform some rituals, or you have to do something, it's very difficult for me to believe. But if I come and tell you that I've gone through these processes, and I've obtained knowledge that if you do this, you get this, then that's result that I've brought or I've come up with cannot be questioned, because I've gone through several process, and I can prove to you that indeed this is what will happen if you do this. So we are going to go through the scientific method, the characteristics of the scientific method. If you want to use the scientific method, what are some of the things that will let you know that this is a scientific method? Scientific method is what? Objective. It is objective. It controls bias. Then there is the willingness to alter beliefs. It is verifiable. then induction, precision, and then through truth. So you go through them one after the other, and then you get to know what they are. So let me also add another example for the scientific method. For example, if I tell you that if you add color blue to color yellow, you will have what color will you have? Andy?
Orange.
Oh, if you add blue to yellow, you have orange, right?
No,
Teresa,
sir.
you have orange.
Oh,
Was it
You have
You
orange?
what?
get green.
Yeah,
Green,
blue
green,
and
yes. Green,
Hey,
yes, green. That's the correct answer. So if you add blue to yellow, you have color green. So if I come and tell you, can you question me? Of course, you can question me that no, you don't believe, but I can prove it by just getting a color blue, getting a color yellow, add it, mix it, and then you all see. So this becomes a general truth. It is known to you, it is known to me. Unlike from experience, that I'll come and tell you that if you go and study research, you get A because the course is easy. That one you cannot prove it. You get it. So that is the scientific method. It can be proved. It can be proved. Let's look at the characteristics quickly. The first one is objectivity. The scientific method is characterized with what? Objectivity. Being objective means that it is not influenced by personal beliefs. So, like we said, this one is not influenced by personal beliefs or feelings, but it's based on what? Facts, real facts, like what we have just the example we have given. This one, it is proven by facts. Add blue to yellow, you get green. You can prove it. Then conclusions are based on observable what? Facts. Researchers avoid personal beliefs and what? Feelings. So if you're a researcher, you don't add your personal belief and feelings to what? To a scientific method. The next characteristics of the scientific method is what? It controls biases. So you see, the like I made mention earlier on, all the limitations of the other sources of knowledge is being catered for by what? By the scientific method as you go along. So control of bias. Tradition has biases, personal experience has biases, and then with scientific method is able to what? It has a tendency to support or oppose a particular person or thing in an unfair way by allowing what? Personal opinions to influence your judgment. So this one, you can support something based on what? Proven facts. So you don't really allow your personal biases or your beliefs to what? To influence the process of the result. So that is for the scientific method. The researcher does not allow personal prejudice, beliefs, and attitudes to influence the process of the study result. So if you're a researcher and you're conducting a research, you don't say that because I am a Fantis and Fantis don't eat is this relevant? Because I am a Fanti and Fantis don't go fishing on Tuesdays. It means that when you want to undertake a research on why people you see, if you're a Fanti, you know that Fantis don't go fishing on Tuesdays. Is that not it? So if you undertake a research, you cannot bring that your personal belief to say that because we don't go fishing on Tuesdays, people, because we don't go fishing on Tuesdays, the outcome or the result of the research, you see, what I want to let you know is that you shouldn't have a perception on your mind based on your beliefs or your personal experience, so that when you finish the research and you know that, oh, people went fishing on Tuesdays, still you want to emphasize on the fact that no, we don't go to fishing on Tuesdays, we don't swim on Tuesdays. So with this one there, the research is wrong. No, if you are a researcher, because you are using the scientific method, you have to control your biases. The biases from the personal experiences, the biases from tradition, the biases from all the other methods that we have mentioned. You should control them. You should, so that when you get a certain result, you are able to accept that result, and not to what, to come in with your biases. Please, are we okay? Is that clear? Is that point clear?
Yes, please, sir.
All right. Then the next one is willingness to alter beliefs. So in scientific inquiry, the researcher must be willing to what? To change his or her beliefs. So if you're a researcher, because of the scientific method, you should be able to change your beliefs. So if you go and conduct a study and you find out that, oh, that people go fishing on Tuesday and nothing happens, you should come up with that result. You should be able to accept that fact that people can go fishing on Tuesdays and nothing will happen. So you should be willing to what? To alter your beliefs. Then researchers change beliefs when evidence contradicts them. So with the scientific method, that is one characteristic. The researcher always change what? Their beliefs when the evidence contradicts, because the evidence that you have gotten, you know that is a proven one. Then verification. The process and findings of scientific inquiry are subject to what? Replication by others. Others should be able to repeat the study and obtain what? Similar results. Findings must be testable and replicable. So what we have found out, if somebody goes through the same process, the person must also get what? The same result, like verification. Like the adding blue to yellow. If I come and tell you that if you add blue to yellow, it is green. I've found that as a researcher, I've done that and I've gotten that information. If you also go through that same process, you should be able to get the same result. So that is verification. It should be verifiable. If people want to also find out what you have gotten, it should give you the same result. Not that I come and tell you that if you add blue to yellow, you get green, and then you go and do it and you get orange. It doesn't mean that it is proven. If it is proven, it means that it should be verifiable. You should get the same what result. Induction. Now, scientific method is characterized by what? Induction, such that you should be able to draw general conclusions from specific observations. As a researcher, when you conduct a research, you should be able to what? Draw a general conclusion. So, for example, if you take a group of class 3 pupils and then you undertake a research on them, that the result that you get, you can generalize it for all class 3 pupils within the school. So if you pick 10 class 3 pupils and you undertake a research on them, that result that you get, you can generalize that, okay, if 10 class 3 pupils are able to fail mathematics, they're able to fail class 3 mathematics, then it means that all the class 3 people do not understand what the mathematics concept. So you should be able to generalize your results. So when you conduct a research on a particular group of people which have been sampled, randomly selected, please, let's take note of the term randomly selected. You cannot go and take 2 people conveniently. Is somebody asking a question?
Yes, sir. Please, you were talking about I'm in class 3, and then we're
Okay.
having this course, T2E, transition to English learning. There was a time our officers came to our school, and then they were selecting 5. Unfortunately for me that day, all the people they selected, I don't want to use a certain adjective for them, like they weren't
They
good.
are
And so,
the lower level of
no,
they are at the
yes,
lower academic
I
level.
yes, please. I had to change them. I had to change them. So if for what you are saying, if you are to base on these selected people, if you are to select them randomly, and if coincidentally they are not, or they are the low achievers, and then you conclude based on your sample, I think it is not fair.
All right. All right. So you see, we'll go through the methods of selecting respondents for your research. When you are selecting them randomly, the group that you select, they should represent the entire group. They should represent it well, such that all the people that you select will represent the entire group. So you shouldn't select a sample out of your population so that it will be biased. So you go and pick all good students, or you go and pick all bad students, and then you use them for your data. And at the end of the day, you tell us that your class, your students are good. That information that you have come up with is not a good one. So we'll go through the methods of selecting. Now, when you are selecting people randomly, we have certain methods. We have the simple random, we have the systematic, we have the lottery method. We have several methods. We'll go through them when we get to the methods, the methods of selecting. So with
Okay.
randomly selection, you can use the systematic method. If you use systematic method, some you can number them, maybe 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then you pick them, or you can give them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you pick all. So you have certain methods that you can what select. Or if you count 1, 2, 3, you choose 1, 1, 2, 3, you choose 1, 1, 2, 3. Then in that case, you have you have mixed ability. Do you get it? To represent. So we have several methods of selecting. So we'll go through that when we get there. And each method has its own advantages and its own disadvantage. And then the selection will depend on certain criteria. So you don't just use one method that this is what I like. You choose and you justify. In research, let me add this, in research, everything is justifiable. If you choose a certain method, or if you say something, you have to back it. That is why we are looking at proving. Everything is proven. So if you are not able to prove what you have done, your work will not be accepted, and you will not be able to pass your research. All right. So if you're able to go through the various methods very well, then you can now generalize. You can now generalize your findings. Then there is precision. Another characteristic is what? Precision. Scientific inquiry is characterized by being exact. Being exact. You have to tell us what exactly you are doing. What exactly you are doing. You have to define your terms, define your instrument. If you are using tests, if you are using questionnaire, if you are using interviews, what are you doing? Let us know. So precision requires what? Exact definitions and measurement. Then we have what? Truth. Scientific truth is tentative and may change with what? With new evidence. So in scientific inquiry, the conclusions reached are what? Are tentative. They represent the exact truth. They represent the exact truth. So once new evidence emerges and contradicts an earlier one, then the conclusion is changed. Because if a new evidence comes up and then it contradicts the old one, then it means that maybe the processes that you went through was not correct. For example, if I tell you that if you go and add blue to yellow and you get a different color, and that is the actual evidence, that is the actual process, the correct procedures you have gone through, then it means that the previous one is questionable. Because we said that it should be verified. It should be, verification is one of the characteristics. It should be verified. So everybody should be able to get the same results that you have gotten. So once a new truth comes up, it overrides the what? The previous known what? Truth. Now let's look at the steps in scientific inquiry. Scientific inquiry goes through several processes. Like we have said, in research, you have to go through what? Procedures, processes, steps. The first step is what? You have to identify a problem. You have to clarify the problem. You have to plan your data collection. You have to organize your data, and then interpret your result. So in your research, this is what you are going to do. You identify a problem. Once you identify the problem, you have to clarify the problem very well by stating the problem in exact and precise terms. What exactly is the problem? Then you plan for your data collection. How do you get data to back or to answer this problem? Where do you get the data from? Then after getting the data, you have to organize and then interpret. So let's go through the steps. Identification of the problem. So research starts with a problem. Every research starts with a problem or a question that requires an explanation. If you don't have a problem, like I said, you cannot conduct a research. So in using the scientific method to obtain knowledge, there must be a problem to begin with. The problem may be an issue or something that is bothering you, the researcher, that needs what? An explanation or better what? Insight into that problem. Now you have to clarify the problem. That's the next step. After you have gotten the problem, clarify it, define what, and refine the problem for accuracy. Let the problem be clear. Don't go and take a problem which is very complicated. Let it be clear and precise. Let it be clear and precise. Define it precisely. The purpose. What is the purpose? So make the problem clearer and exact as to what the purpose of the study is. So I want to find out the effect or the perceived effect of what classroom environment. Let's say the effect of classroom environment on what? Teaching and learning. So you want to look at the effect of the classroom environment on what? Teaching and learning. So you have to be precise. Clarify what the problem very well. Then data collection, planning. You have to plan for what? For data collection. So you have to determine the needed information and the methods of collection. Once you have clarified your problem, the next step is to determine the needed information. How do you get your information? You are looking at the effect of classroom environment on teaching and what? And learning. That is your problem. How do you get your information? How do you get an answer to this? Is your data quantitative or qualitative? The type of information and the characteristics of the participants of study. Who are you going to use? Who are going to be your participants, your respondents? Who are they going to be? For example, you may decide to give a questionnaire to teachers and to complete and interview what? Students. So you have to plan for your data collection. How do you go about it? You see, research is broad, so you have to narrow your research. Know what you want to do. Note that the data collected and how it is collected are very important in determining what? The credibility of the result. Let's take this note. Let's take note of this, that the data that you collect and the processes that you use to collect your data are key to what? Determining the credibility of the result of the study. If you use a wrong method to collect the data, it means that you are getting your result that you are getting is wrong. So the data collection process is very important in what? In a research. Let's assume that you want to find out why your students are not doing well, and then you go and interview parents. You want to find out why your students are always sleeping in class, and then you go and ask their parents, why is it that your children have been sleeping in class? Are you sure you get the right information you want? Is it possible that you get the right information?
No, please, sir.
I'm not sure it's possible because it is the student. They are sleeping. So you have to find out from the student what is their problem. Then if maybe you get the information and then you want to further go to the parents to get more information from them to add, then you can further go to their parents and ask to buttress your information, or to buttress what you have gotten from the kids or from your students. So if you miss the steps in getting the data, your result will be wrong, and you come and tell us that, oh, students sleep in class because parents don't have money in Ghana. Because maybe if you go, the parent tell you that, oh, we don't have money, so that's why our children have been sleeping. Then you also come up with your result. You are coming up with fake results, or the result is not really proven. Because if somebody goes to the field and find out from the students why they are sleeping, and they tell you that it's because our parents takes us to the farm, then it means that your work is not vivid, it's not verified. All right. Then organization of data. So once you have gotten your information, you have to organize. How do you organize? You have to make sense out of the data. You have to make sense out of the data, summarize the data, use what descriptive statistics, and then analyze it. Analyze the data that you have gotten. Tell us something. It's not that, okay, so 10 students said their parents take them to farm. 20 students said they are tired in the morning. 10 people said they are sick, they are not feeling well. And so what? This is the information you have gotten. So what? You have to organize the data, analyze it, tell us, make sense out of the data. Then finally, you have to interpret the data. After you have analyzed the data, you have to interpret, read meanings into it. Research is not just collecting the data. So interpreting the data is another key or important aspect of the research. You have to interpret the result. The student said this. So what is its significance to education? What is its influence on education? What is it bringing to your class? I mean, what is it adding? You need to interpret the data and the results, and then conclude that, oh, okay, students sleep because of this. And then if this is done, it will help solve what? The sleeping of students in class. You have to tell us and conclude and make the findings tentative. Prove that you have done what? Actual research, and this research is solving a problem for you. That is interpretation of the results. Let's look at applying this in what? Education. Of course, we are undertaking the research to solve a problem. Is that not it? So in applying your research, it is applied in what? Education. Now, in application to education, you can use it to solve your classroom teaching and learning problems. You can use it to improve your school decision making. You can use it to enhance your understanding of student behavior and performance. Can we have other application areas apart from these three? Applying research in education. If you were to conduct a research to solve a problem you are facing in your class, how will you apply it? What will you apply it to do? Or you haven't even thought of any problem yet?
Based on your research, you can make some recommendations for the head teachers.
So has it clicked your mind a particular problem you think it's researchable? Or you haven't thought of any yet? Do you have anybody who have come across with a particular problem you think is researchable?
Poor performance in class.
Regina.
Yes, please.
Okay, we are listening.
Poor performance in my class.
In your class, your class. Is it, which class is that?
JHS2.
GHS2.
Yes,
So you're a
please.
subject teacher or a class?
I'm a subject teacher, but I'm their form mistress.
So it's a general thing in all subjects.
Yes, please.
Okay, so poor performance of so and it's a concern, it's a problem. So you want to
Yes.
find out why they are not performing well. Okay, so let's assume you are done. You have finished conducting the research. Uh, what is its application to education?
Okay. Its application to education, isn't it?
Yes.
Uh, mm, okay. After the research,
Mm-hmm.
I go, after that, after researching what their causes of their performance in the class,
Okay.
then you got to know that seriously after learning in class they don't learn again. So the next day when they come to school, I don't know if I'm
Okay.
answering your question.
Okay, so its application may be that it will help improve performance of what of your class
Yes,
students.
please.
So that's be the application. So every research must be applied and it must solve a particular problem. So its application to education, it will solve a classroom. So if let's say um is the method of teaching that you are using, if it is
Okay.
as a result of the teaching method, then it will help what improve upon what the teaching and learning what methods, or it will improve. You can also undertake a research to improve on what school decision making or to enhance understanding of student behavior, etc. All right, so what you have to do is now you have to identify a problem in your school, then know which source of knowledge would be used. And of course, like we have said, we have to use the scientific method because we are all researchers. You cannot go and use your tradition or your personal experience and come and tell us that you have solved the problem. This is the solution. Then how can the scientific method improve the solution? So let us begin to think about this. All right. Can we take on session 3
Hello,
before we
yeah,
close?
please,
All right.
please, can I ask a question?
Okay.
Please, the sources of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Can you also add religious background, or that will create a
Religious
confusion?
religious
Background.
background. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay. That one too can be part. That one can be part. I was only thinking if it will be if it will fall under any of the methods. I think it may fall under tradition, or
Okay.
because you say tradition is what a belief, a principle, or a way of doing something.
Okay.
So religion too is a way of doing something. It's a way of doing something. So it's a tradition.
All right.
Yeah. So maybe it may fall. So it's part. It's part. So
All right.
it may fall under the tradition.
All
Any
right.
other question? Okay, no question. Can we take the third session before we close? The roles of researcher in education. Quickly, let me take you through that, then we will close for today.
Was it on session 3 or 4?
We are on session. We are done with session 2, so we are going to session 3. All right. So the role of research in education. So all educators want to do things in a way that will ensure what the success of their students. So if you're a teacher, if you're an educator, you want to always do something Every teacher wants their children to do well. I don't know if there is a teacher who doesn't want his student to perform. Do you have some here?
I don't think so.
So you see, if you teach and your student don't perform well, you begin to ask yourself certain questions. Is it that I'm not teaching well? Is it that I'm not applying the methods? Is it that you begin to, it becomes a problem to you? Because let's assume you teach a certain subject or a certain class and they go and write the BEC, and at the end of the day none of your students are able to pass. It becomes a worry to you, the teacher, because it raises questions as to whether you are not teaching well or the problem is from the case. So you begin to worry. And how do you overcome this? It's through research. It's only through research that you can come up with solutions to this. So research is very important in education. Research is very important in education. If you don't do research, then you cannot solve some problems or a lot of problems that you are facing. You cannot solve them. So we want to look at the role of research in education. Why is research important in education? Why is research important in education? Can we just come up with some of them? Okay. So the first point is what? Contribute to knowledge, improving educational practice, informing important policy decisions, and then building students' research skills. So in education, research is important because one, it will contribute to knowledge. When you undertake a research, it will contribute towards knowledge. It will improve on educational practice, and then it will inform policy decisions, and then to build students' research skills. So let's quickly go through this one after the other, and then we can close for today. So at the end of this session, you should be able to explain the importance of research in adding knowledge, in improving educational practice, in informing educational policy, and then in benefiting students or building students' research skills. All right, so research helps educators to understand, explain, and solve, so like I said, educational problems. Educational decisions should be based on evidence rather than assumptions. So you see, if you are making any decision in education, it should be based on what? Evidence. It should be based on evidence rather than assumptions. So like our sister made mention of that poor performance of a student. You cannot just assume that it's because the student they don't learn. That is why. You see, when who was the one who said that? Can you come clear for us? So I will use your own as an example. As an example. Hello.
It was Regina, but I think she's
Yes,
offline now.
please. Please, I
Regina.
didn't get Yes, please.
So I was saying that. So you said your students do not perform well, right?
Yes, please.
And you said what was the reason?
After school, they don't go back to read their books.
Have you done rigorous research to know that is the reason?
We asked. I think we went to their various homes to ask them, and that's what their parents told us.
So you see,
And then
that's what the parents.
we confronted the kids. They also told us after school, after teaching, that's the end of the lesson for them. They don't go back to read it.
So you can apply the scientific method to prove it well. Okay, you can apply the
Okay.
scientific method to prove it well, to know that if that is really so. Right now, what you are doing, okay, so you have done a preliminary investigation. That's what we will call it. A preliminary investigation. You have just asked questions concerning what their poor performance, and you have gotten that. So we will call that a preliminary investigation. But that is not proven until you go through the various scientific methods to collect data, look at, analyze the data, interpret, and then come out with vivid results. So we will say that this is based on, okay, we cannot also classify this under assumption. If you haven't gone through the process of interviewing the parent and the student, then we would have said that it is based on your own assumption. You are assuming that the students don't learn. But
Okay.
because you have done some interview with the parents, you say that you have conducted a preliminary investigation with them. So now you have gotten a little knowledge, but you have to prove that indeed that is really the cause, because there may be other factors which you don't really know until you go through the process and the procedures to collect actual data and then interpret and then analyze the data. You may not see all those things. So educational decisions should be based on evidence rather than what basic assumptions. And then research contribute to continuous improvements in teaching and learning. So adding to knowledge about educational issues, that is one of the first role of research in education. Research adds to what? The knowledge. So if you conduct the study on poor performance and you get to know that your students are not performing well because they don't learn, then you can come up with a finding, or you can come up with the result that students who have poor performance, or students who perform poorly, does not learn, or do not learn. So students who perform poorly do not learn, and that is the cause of what? Their poor performance. So when you come up with that result, then you are adding that knowledge to what? Educational issues. You are adding that knowledge to educational issues. You are expanding the understanding of what? An educational phenomena. And it's about performance of students. So you add to the knowledge of what? Performance of students. It helps answer important questions about teaching, learning, and what? School management. So when we talk of adding knowledge to what? Educational issues, these are some of the areas that we can mention. Then your findings will also contribute to what? Existing knowledge and generate new insights into what? Education. So it is adding knowledge. In what way is it adding knowledge? It is expanding understanding of what? An educational phenomena. It is helping to give what? Answers to important questions about teaching, about learning, about school management, about performance, about roles of students, about leadership roles, and a whole lot. So examples of educational issues studied through research include what? Student performance, like Regina made mention of student performance. So performance in maths, performance in English, performance in computing, performance in creative arts. So in all aspects. Then school supervision and leadership effectiveness, classroom management, teaching methods, inclusive education, and what? Special need learners. All these are issues in education that have been studied. So how does research add to this knowledge? It should fill a gap in existing knowledge. So you see that we discussed that every research leads to another research. So once you conduct your research, you have a gap that you should fill. And so every research that you undertake will fill a certain gap. If you don't have a gap to fill, then it means your research is irrelevant. The research adds to knowledge to expand current understanding, to replicate previous studies, to confirm findings, and then provides perspectives and experiences of learners and teachers. The second point is what? It improves educational practice. We are looking at the role of research in education. It improves what? Educational practice. How does it improve educational practice? Research provides evidence-based recommendations. These recommendations that you come up with will help to improve what? The practices. So if you come up with recommendations, the students, poor performance of students as a result of the students not learning. So what do? I recommend to the school authorities that they should organize prepping hours for students, or they should organize what? Early morning, what do you call it? Prepping, what do you call it? In the morning, they have some. It's mostly done in the SHS.
Silencer.
Silence hour, yes, silence hour. So let's organize silence hour for the students so that it will help them to what? To read their books before the actual classes start. So in that case, your recommendation is going to improve what? Educational practice. That is not the practice of the school, but you see, because of your research, you have contributed to what? That practice, and now it has become a practice in your school. Even if you leave the school, you'll be remembered for that Regina undertook a study, and then the result of the study was that students were performing poorly because they were not learning. So we came up with this strategy that students should come to school at 6 a.m. That is Form 2 students, since they are preparing to write their BEC, or they'll be candidates soon. Let them come to class at 6 a.m. so that they can have maximum time to prepare before the class. So you are improving what? Educational practice. It helps teachers to adopt effective teaching methods. So teaching methods that are used is also an educational practice. So once you improve on teaching methods, you are also what? Improving educational practice. If you improve on assessment, improvement on supervision, improvement on all these improvements are what? Improving what? In educational practices. Promote professional growth among educators. So if you are improving educational practice, these are some of the things that you are doing. So research and effective teaching. Research identifies what? Effective instructional strategies, supports learner-centered approaches, helps teachers address diverse learning needs, and then improve student engagement and achievement. So the third role of research in education is what? Informing educational policy. Informing educational policy. Now, research provides.
Sir, someone has raised his hand.
Okay, you can talk, Teresa.
Say me, someone has raised his hand. I don't know the person.
Let me check. IEAQ-esque. Who is that? IEAQ-esque. Are you there? I think it's a mistake, so let's continue.
Ivan Awuku.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. You raised your hand.
Yes, my question is election predictions and reports by Ghana Education Service on people's reading abilities are often based on data from a sample rather than the entire population. So with this, what type of research and sampling methods do they use to determine accuracy?
You said research on what?
Election predictions and reports usually that we hear from Ghana Education Service on people's reading abilities.
Okay.
Are mostly based on data from a sample rather than the entire population. And I'm asking that with this, which research method is used and how is their accuracy determined?
Okay. So with the methods, we will get there. we will get there. We will look into the methods properly. But let me just throw a highlight of what you have asked. You see, there is no one true way. There is no one true way in arriving at a good conclusion for a particular problem you want to study. However, determined or based on a particular problem or research you want to undertake, we have certain procedures that you have to go through. There are a lot of the methods. You go to, when we get there, you get to know there are a lot of methods. There are a lot of sampling procedures. There are a lot of ways in getting a sample out of a population, and every process or procedure that you undertake must be justified to prove that this is the actual or the true way that you should go. So the methods that they use, well, I have not gone through the reports or the articles that they have done. All we know is that they come up with the results. So if you want to do further research, we can go through to know the methods that they employed. That is the verification. Going to also verify, to take the sample, go through them, use some methods, appropriate methods to verify that what they are saying is true or not. I don't know if I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but we will throw more light on that when we get to the various methods, and when we start, we'll pick how to write the chapter 1, that's the introduction, how to write the problem, how to write literature, how to select a specific method for a particular research topic or a particular problem, and then how to analyze and all those things. So when we get there to, we'll emphasize more on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the next one is informing educational policy. So research also, when it is being undertaken, it informs educational policy, helps policymakers to understand educational challenges, it supports reforms. The reforms that the Ghana Education Service and then curriculum reform and everything, they don't just do it. They are supposed to go through several research to know that this is not working, this is working. Then you now come up with a curriculum reform or a change in a certain teaching method. Then it reduces reliance on assumptions and opinions. Once the research is done, we don't now base on assumptions and our own opinions. So examples of policy issues, like I said, curriculum reforms, language of instruction policies, teacher recruitment and training, assessment and examination reforms, inclusive education policies. All these policies come about as a result of research. And so research helps in informing educational policies. Then building research skills, which is the last role. Research will help build the skills of students, like we are all learning now. At the end of the day, we will build our research skills. So we will develop our critical thinking and problem solving skills. At the end of this course, in fact, if you are not able to critically think through a particular problem, then you have not gained anything out of the course. You should be able to enhance your ability to collect and analyze information. You should improve report writing and communication skills. You should promote evidence-based decision making. So these are some of the things that at the end of the course, at the end of going through the course, you should look at gaining. You should be able to develop critical thinking and problem solving skills. You should be able to enhance your ability to collect data, analyze the data very well, and write good reports, write good feedback, write good findings out of problems in your schools, in your workplaces. You should be able to communicate effectively. Presentations, you should be able to present well. Your communication skills should be on point. Then you should promote evidence-based decision making. When you make every decision, it should be based by evidence, fact. It should be proven, not just saying by word or by your own experience or by your assumptions. Benefits of research skills to students. So as students, What is the benefit of research skills? It will support your project work and academic studies. Please don't be thinking to give your project work to people to do it for you, and then you have to develop the skill to do it on your own, to work on your research works, to work on your academic studies, your assignments and everything. Then encourage independent learning. Now, when you develop research skill too, it will help you to do what? To do independent learning. If you want any information, you can just go to the go and research, because you now know how to what? To research. Then analytical and evaluation skills. You can now analyze data very well. You can evaluate the data to see that the data you have gotten is good or not. Then it will prepare students for professional and academic careers. So in your professional careers, it will prepare you to be a good teacher, etc. Now, research cycle in education. I think we have discussed this already. Research goes through a cycle. So you first identify a problem. So the research that we are going to do, these are the process. You have to identify a problem. That's the problem statement. You review literature. Then you collect data, analyze the data, and draw conclusions out of the data, which will help improve practice. All right. So that is that. That is for the research cycle. You have to identify. So it goes through several chapters. Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So identifying a problem and then writing the background of the study is in chapter 1. Chapter 2 is where you review your literature. Then chapter 3, you collect your data. Go to the field, collect your data. And then chapter 4, you analyze your data. And then chapter 5, you summarize and conclude. Now, research begins from literature review. I am ending the class with this, that research begins with literature review. Even though literature review is in chapter 2, before you can conduct a good research, you have to start with literature review. What is literature review? You see, you cannot just sit down and coin a problem or write a problem. A problem will come to you when you have you can get a problem from personal experience. For example, you are teaching and then you are like Regina's own, you have experienced a problem. Now you don't just get up and say, oh, I'm conducting the research. Before you start the research, you have to do the literature review. What do you mean by that? You have to read what has people done around what you want to do. So go and research. Go and search about the problem. Poor performance. My students are not performing well. Okay. Poor performance. What is poor performance? What has people done under poor performance? How did they do it? What are the findings they came up with? So you look for literature, works that people have done. Look at some in Ghana. Look at some in Africa, in the African context. Look at some in the Western world. Look at some in Europe. Look at some in the various continents. Narrow it down to Africa. Narrow it down to Ghana. Narrow it down to your region. Narrow it down to your district. That is doing a literature review. Read about the topic and then note it down, what people have done in all these areas, and read. When you read, you see that the more you read, it will give you ideas. Okay, so this one did it on poor performance. He did it in, let's say, UK. When he did it, he saw that, okay, the students were not performing well because of this. Okay, let's look at in Ghana. Somebody has done it in University of Cape Coast. Okay, the students are not performing because of this. Okay, in my district, has anybody done that? No, nobody has done it. Okay, let me look at in my region. Let's say in Ashanti region. Okay, somebody has done it in Ashanti region. When the person did it, he found out that the students are not performing. So you get ideas. Then as you you narrow it down to your school. Then you get a fair idea of whatever you want to do. Then you now begin to write your problem. So ending the class, that is what I want to end with, that a good research begins with literature review. When you get a problem, when you get your challenge, your problem, what you have to do is to read around the problem, to narrow down your problem, and then get to know what do you really want to find out. All right. So our last activity is to identify an educational problem in your school, and then discuss how research can help solve the problem, and then suggest possible data collection methods. All right. Thank you very much. I think our time is fast spent. So we'll end here and take questions and suggestions for now.
Sir, please, mine is not a question.
Okay.
Please, can you please give us a slide of what we just learned?
Come again.
A slide of what we just learned.
A slide. The
Slides.
slide. The slides. My slides. Okay. I'll put it on the page.
Okay.
I'll give it to the course rep. Then he'll share with you. The page is it? Is the page for only research methods?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes,
Then I
please.
think then I can put it on it, so that.
Okay.
However, you have to read the model. This is just a highlight of what is in the model, so that you can get better understanding in whatever we have discussed.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Okay, so the what we have to go through is a lot. I don't know, and we are supposed to finish 1 unit on every session, right? Because we have 6 units, or how many? Let me check. We have we have 4 units. We have 4 units. Please, we are using how many weeks? Hello, please, let's unmute and discuss. Let's unmute and have a discussion. Hello.
Hi.
We have how many weeks? We have you have 6 weeks, right?
Mm,
And we are using 2 weeks for presentation. So it means we have to use 4 weeks.
yes.
And we have 4 units. It means that we have to finish 1 unit on every session. But today we are not able to finish. We have done 3 sessions out of unit 1. So please, I would advise that if it's possible, we will get another time, so that within every week, we will meet twice. So that when we meet on 1, we will finish 3 sessions for the first meeting, then 3 sessions for the next meeting. Is that possible for us?
Yes, so you have to give us the time and the
Okay.
exact date that we meet.
Okay. So can we maintain today's meeting, or it's not favorable to others?
Sir, the time. I'm even sleeping. The time.
The time, the 7 to 9.
If
It's late.
it's late.
So what time do you suggest?
If my colleagues will be free at, let's say, 5 to 7, that would be okay. Oh.
5 to 7.
As for me, 6 to 8. That's good.
Okay.
6 to 8.
6 to 8 is normal.
6 to 8 is okay.
Yes, please.
Do we all agree to that? Should we maintain 6 to 8?
I think the 7 to 9 is convenient. By then, almost most of us will be home.
Ivan, keep quiet.
Maybe because some people don't leave office early. That is why
Yes.
I thought of that, but I don't know if there's 6 to 8. I think that I think there are married people too. Maybe they want to have time for their husbands.
Thank you. I'm anti-passport.
So what do you do? So please, is that
So,
I hope there's 6 to 8.
so the 7 to 9, we take it like that. Just
We
once
should
a day.
main, we
Okay.
should maintain it. Okay,
All
so the
right.
Tuesdays will be 7 to 9. Then the Saturday should, so do you maintain the Saturday normal? No, Saturday morning. The time is 7 to 9 in the morning, right?
Okay.
We might be having class, the face to face as well.
You said
The face to face.
Some people will be having face to face at 7 to 9.
Yes.
on Saturday.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay. So which other day do you suggest? Saturday evening. I have online
Sir,
prayer.
hello.
Yes.
Sir, on our timetable, you're supposed to have online class 7 to 9 a.m.
Yes. That's for research methods.
Uh-huh.
That
So
same
that's what
time, other
uh,
people have face to face.
And they do, as for them, they will go to their various class. And we will join the online class when we join.
No.